Can you give me that story of how Titan was finding its way and then became this huge company?
Yeah, so you know, it's fascinating. Jamshedji Tata himself was a very persistent man. Between the time he conceptualized Tata Steel and the time Tata Steel came alive was 25, 30 years.
Audacious, as we said.
Yeah, between the time he conceptualized the Indian Institute of Science and by the time it was born, it was more than 20 years had passed by. But he persisted against a lot of resistance that he faced from the British government of India of that time. But the story I've narrated here, the modern story of persistence that I've narrated here from the Tata Group is the story of Tanishq. You know, Tanishq is today the most preferred jewelry brand across the country, the most preferred brand of modern Indian women. But we should know that in the first 6 years of Tanishq, it was not a profitable business. It was losing money. There were strategic errors that were made by initially introducing 18 karat
gold,
18 karat studded jewelry.
22.
Yes, but for Indian women, gold and jewelry is about Sridhan. It's not just adornment, it's also investment. And Indian women would buy 22 karat gold. And there was a time when there was a lot of skepticism about the Tanishq business, including within the Tata Group. But Mr. Xerxes Desai, who was then the managing director of Titan, stood by the business. Mr. Desai has told me, I've interviewed him for the story, and he said, Harish, the market opportunity was so huge, I would let them close this business over my dead body. That's what he said. It was
50,000 crores at that time, but today it's more like 3 lakh crores.
3 lakh or 4 lakh crores is the size of the market today. So Mr. Desai stood by that because he thought the market opportunity was huge. There was a change made in the strategy of Tanishq. 22 karat gold jewelry was launched. Something called the carat meter was launched.
Explain the carat meter. That's a fascinating story.
So, you know, Tanishq at that time did a survey of jewelers across the country. And they found that jewelers were not actually offering 22 karat gold as 22 karat gold. They were offering a lower caratage, let's say 17 or 18 carats. And Tanishq decided that we would offer 22 karat as 22 karat and be totally transparent about it. But now, how do you prove to the customer that 22 karat is 22 karat?
And you're probably wearing a 17 karat jewelry or bangle.
So what happened was that senior executives of Tanishq found a laboratory instrument called a spectrometer. You know, if you have studied physics, you know the Fraunhofer lines of every metal. So every metal has its unique Fraunhofer line. Gold has, and lead has, and copper has, and so forth. And they found that this instrument could actually read what the purity of that metal was by examining the surface of the metal.
And that became the game changer.
So that laboratory instrument was brought back to India, and in a stroke of marketing genius, it was called the carat meter, and it was put into every Tanishq store. I have actually seen women come into Tanishq stores during that period of time. I used to be a junior manager in those days. They would test their wedding jewelry on the carat meter, break down and cry when they found that it was not the pure 22 karat gold that was promised. And that was a game changer. So Tanishq, along with purity, brought also modern expressions of traditional Indian designs of jewelry into the market. And you have seen the last 20, 25 years of Tanishq, it's flourished and become the largest and the most preferred brand of jewelry today. But it happened because Mr. Desai at that time, when the business was making losses, stood by the business and made sure that he gave it his full support. He was very, very persistent in his pursuit of that idea. And that's something that I narrate in this book and in this story. Of course, there were people like Jacob Kurian, who was the chief operating officer of the business at that time, Mr. Bhaskar Bhatt, who succeeded Xerxes Desai as the managing director of Titan. And after that, Mr. C.K. Venkatraman, now Ajoy Chawla, who have driven that business to greater and greater heights. But the fact is that it's the persistence of Mr. Xerxes Desai which ensured that the business lived on to see another day and flourished.
And the first was listening to the customers, so realizing they wanted 22 karat.
Yes.
And secondly, making sure that the Tata brand stood for 22 carats and not 18 or 19 or 20.
And that is true of, I think, every product category that the Tata Group has gone into. I think trust and transparency have always been core to the Tata brand. And you know, you have to earn trust. You cannot demand trust. You earn trust by giving people excellent products and services which are of fair value. You earn trust by doing good for the community. You earn trust by ensuring that you're very transparent in your actions.
And you stand by your products, whether it was in Tata Finance or now in Tanishq. You stood by your product.
Absolutely right. You stand by your product, and most importantly, Ramesh, you stand by the customer. And you make sure that the customer's
Gets
needs
full
are
value.
served. Yeah.
Great.
And very importantly, accept your imperfections when they occur once
When you
in a
make a mistake, yeah, correct.